Hello everyone, it's Shel C from PaperOcotilloStudio. Today I'm sharing with you my May full moon, which is my yearly series of making art inspired by the monthly named full moons. This month, for the month of May of 2019, is the flower moon. The reason it's called that is because it's a full moon marking the time of increased fertility. The temperatures are warming up. It's a good time to bear young. It's near to the end of the late frost and the plants are in bloom. Sometimes it may also be called the mother's moon or the milk moon or the corn planting moon. In addition to it being the flower moon, this month's moon is also a blue moon. Now, a blue moon usually means that there are two moons in the same month, but there's also a rule that if there are more than 3 full moons in a season, usually there's 3 months in a season, right? If there's a fourth full moon in that season, that is also a blue moon. So that's the reason that May's moon is also a blue moon. Doesn't really look blue so much usually. It's just called that because it's rare. I guess sometimes they do look blue, and that's the reason that it originally has that name. But it's interesting and beautiful. It came out last night, and I was out on the soccer field. It came up very low on the horizon, and was very big looking, and then it continued to rise and look more normal. So it was beautiful, and this is my art piece inspired by that flower moon. Now, does the moon have a flower on it? No, but it's suggestive. This is a whimsical interpretation of this name. It has nothing to do with that. It has more to do with flowers being in bloom, which actually our blooming season's over here in Arizona pretty much, and now it's just hot, hot, hot. So I wanted to do this weird technique that I haven't done in a really long time because I knew I would be starting with a black background, and I painted my entire page, which has tape around the edges. This is in my Arteza acrylic paper book that I have, which has some thick textured paper. I painted it with DecoArt Americana black paint. I could use black gesso as well, but I decided to use DecoArt's Americana line today for this whole project pretty much, except for the sprays. And then I used some Dylusion sprays. Now, when you guys have ever used the Dylusion sprays, if you've ever tried to cover them up with anything, it doesn't matter how many layers of gesso or how many layers of anything you put on top of them, they always bleed through. Always. And there are other products like that, like Brush O's and Ken Oliver's spray crystal things. What are they called? Anyway, you know, they're dry crystals that you can get wet. Same thing. They just bleed through everything no matter what you do. But in this case, with this weird little technique, you can use that to your advantage. So I sprayed some of the Dylusion sprays. I started off with, I think, Dirty Martini at the bottom, and then a turquoise, tempting turquoise or something like that, a fuchsia, and a sunshine yellow. I sprayed them on the black, and once they're dry on the black, you can't see them. But once you go to put something over the top of it, then it bleeds through whatever you put over the top, and you start to see the color. So I used the same Americana paint, only in white, and a Stencil Girl stencil, and I stenciled over the top in white, and you could see the colors coming through. However, I felt like they were way too bright and that I needed some sort of a composition. So at this point, I'm using some glazing, and I used satin glazing medium, which is just a clear, it's like a clear acrylic paint, basically no pigment in it, and then you can mix however much paint you want into it to make a transparent medium to tone something down or put it over the top and change the color, change the hue, which is what I did. I used the burnt sienna DecoArt. What's that? That line's not called Americana. It's called Traditions. The Traditions paints. It's their new line of artist quality paints, and I used burnt umber at the bottom and made kind of a hill, and then I used the Hansa yellow at the top and went over and kind of just toned down and unified that top part a little bit. It sort of gave it a sunset effect, which when I did see the full moon, I was out on the soccer field and it was like 7 o'clock and it hadn't gotten dark yet. So the moon was really on the side of the sky that didn't have the sunset because the sunset was sitting on the other side. But I'm taking artistic license and I'm saying that this is like kind of a sunset full moon. So then I used my masking tape round thing, made a circle, painted that with the white again. That's the pure white paint. And now that's like what, the third layer? It's still coming out pink, right? Because that Dylusions sprays will just keep coming through. There's just no way to stop them from coming through. So if you ever wanted to paint over something and you're like, oh, I'm going to use some I'm going to paint over the top, it's not going to work. It just doesn't happen that way. So my next step was to go to unsplash.com and to print a photograph that someone had taken of a lady who's kind of dancing in the moonlight or worshiping the moon or something. I'm not really sure what she's doing, but I wanted kind of like almost a silhouette photograph. So I searched on there. I think I put female back arms raised or something like that. And there was a lot of photos, and I actually printed 2 different ones, but I ended up using this one. And I just trimmed it out. I'm not worried about the photo because I'm going to paint over the top. This is a fun technique I've been doing lately, and it saves me so much time to do it this way rather than try to draw a human figure. I'm really bad at drawing hands, and so and of course, in my head, I'm saying to myself, I'm bad at drawing hands, so I'm probably never going to get good at it because I keep reinforcing me being bad at it. But I should practice, that's what I should do. Just draw a bunch of hands. But anyway, I didn't want to draw hands. I wanted this graceful look without me having to draw it. So I printed the picture from Unsplash, which is a site that has royalty-free photos that artists can use. Without, worrying about anything. Of course, I'll put credit to the photographer below the video on the links because that's only fair. And that'll also have a link to the photo if you want to see the photo that I used. But I cut it out. I glued it down to my page using some matte gel medium from Liquitex. And then I'm going to paint over the top of it. So on the bottom part, I painted the black. And I also had to repair some of my edges because I went ahead and pulled my tape off at this point and I tore the heck out of the top part. So I used some black paint to repair the edge at the top, and then I do end up going and making a even straighter line with black Posca pen, but I think that's not in the video, just to make it a little bit more straight. I didn't paint very straight. And then I took some of this Traditions paint. I took the red, the yellow, and the blue. Also, there was still some white and some black on my palette. And I'm using that color mixing technique to make some different shades of this dark skin tone because it's nighttime. So her skin doesn't look, real pale. But it does have highlights and shadows because the moon she's got her arms up and the moon is shining down on her and giving some highlights at the top of the fingers and the top of her dress and the top of her head. So I'm making sure that those highlights and shadows are staying by just first blending kind of the medium tone with my red, yellow, and blue, and then adding some white to it to make it lighter, adding some black to it to make it darker. And just continuing to mess around until I feel like it looks like it should. It changes what the picture looks like when you do this. The picture is like a guide. It's like a suggestion. You can change it completely. You could completely change what outfit she's wearing. You can change. I could have made her hair a different color if I wanted to. I just stuck with like a kind of a brown color, lightened it up a little bit, but it turns into your own personal acrylic painting. It's just saving yourself the drawing portion. Of course, I can draw. You guys know I can. I just think that this is easier. And I just wanted it to be quick. So I'm mixing again some different tones of brown, darkening them up, lightening up to give some highlights and shadows to the hair. And then I'm using white with a little bit of the black and mixing kind of some different grays to put on her robe type of a dress, because I kind of imagine that she's maybe some type of a very spiritual person, maybe a Wiccan, maybe somebody who likes to revel in nature, and she's out there beseeching the moon to help bring the world back to life, to bring the spring back, to bring, all the bright colors and the beauty that happens during the spring. Um, I don't know, something like that. So that's kind of the pose that she has, is like, arms up, talking or singing or dancing. So I imagine that she's wearing some type of a thin robe, because it's not particularly cold and it's more of like a ceremonial garment of some sort, I guess. So I stuck with it being that type of a garment. I didn't change, what she was wearing at all. She could have been wearing jeans and a t-shirt, doesn't matter, but I didn't change it because I wanted it to stay kind of that, I don't know, maybe she went outside in her nightgown and is in her yard or something. But really going with the flower theme. I've got flowers in the background. I've got flowers everywhere because it's the flower moon, and that's the reason that I'm doing that for this particular named moon. Also because it's the mother moon, I thought maybe she was a mother of some sort. I'm not sure. These things are so subjective. You just go with what you want to do. And of course, I have a Facebook group called I think it's just called Full Moon Art. I don't know. Anyway, I put the link below the video if you'd like to join and you would like to share the art that you've created inspired by the named full moons this year. After this year, I probably won't be doing this series, so I will close it at that point. But if you'd like to join, just come over and use that link to come over to Facebook. Ask to join. Make sure that you answer the questions. If you don't answer the questions that pop up when you ask to join, I won't approve you to come in, because I don't know if, where you heard of it, where are you someone who's wanting to promote their own sales things, or are you going to spam the group? You know what I'm saying? So just make sure you answer the questions. Same thing goes for Art Joy of Sharing and Pick a Stick Challenge. We've had problems before. So the type of flower that most reminds me of a moon is a hydrangea. They are round. It's like a long stalk with this ball on the top that's made up of several flowers, but it's always a round shape. So I decided to add some of a type of a hydrangea look to my moon. Again, using the pure white Americana acrylic paint. And as you can see, I paint the white on there. What happens? It changes pink. Because no matter how many layers I put on there, it's still going to happen. I don't know what they put in those dilution sprays, but that pigment is strong and it's going to continue to come through every layer. What's that, like the fifth layer maybe? And I continue to do it. I continue to put white on there over the other ones. It also kind of represents the way the moon looks when it has, you see the craters and things when it's nice and full. You can see all that kind of stippling or patchy look on the moon, on the full moon. So by painting the hydrangea petals on there, it kind of gives that effect as well. I guess if I really had been realizing this was a blue moon, I should have sprayed the top up there with the turquoise or a blue or something, and it would have come out blue instead of pink. But I was thinking more of the time of day it was and the sunset and all that type of stuff. So that's how come it's kind of a pink moon, which is kind of funny because last month was actually the pink moon. That's the name of it, from the moon for April. Yeah, April is the pink moon. It's funny. Okay, anyway. So then I'm taking more of the white and some of the black, and I'm making a field of flowers that she's standing in. stalks, sprigs, stems, whatever you want to call them. And I use both the white and the black to do this. Um, of course, the black paint is the most successful of painting over the the seeping color. But even though you paint it over with black, if you went back over that same black with white, it would still come through. So yeah, it's crazy like that. I used a sponge to kind of make a little bit of a cloudy mist around the moon because that's what it looked like for me. That it had this kind of a ring of clouds around it last night. So yeah. Then I mixed up a little bit of a reddish color, reddish pinkish color to try to add a little bit of shadow in among my hydrangea petals and make them look a little bit more dimensional. And then I used some white and went back over and added, what is this, like maybe the eighth, the eighth or ninth layer on the moon. I put some more white on it eventually. I also used a small brush and made like little blooms at the ends of some of my stems. And after I did this, and I don't think it made it to the video because I lost a little section of a video, it was corrupted. I brought in bright pink and bright orange Posca pens and went over some of those to bring that pink and orange back down to the bottom and complete it through the entire composition. I think that was in the part that got corrupted. But anyway, who knows why that happens? I don't. Sometimes it just disappears. Sometimes it gets corrupted and won't process. I don't know. So here I am putting like that next layer of white on that moon, and it still is seeping through. The pink is still seeping through. So what else did I do? Oh yeah, I added a little bit of orange. The Dylusions spray, I add a little bit of orange to the moon because the orange wasn't coming through as much as the pink, and I wanted to give it a little bit of a mottled effect. If you've enjoyed this piece, then make sure you give it a thumbs up and leave me a comment or question below. I will link at the end of the video and in the iCards other full moon projects that I've done this year so far so that you can look at those and give them some love. And you can, of course, share this. You can pin it on Pinterest. All those things help my channel grow by helping other people find me. So I hope that you do that. Also, the links below the video are to products that I've used, like these deco art products and paints that I used this month. So I think that's it for me. What else? I don't really have anything else. So bye-bye.